Hello and welcome to the Weekly Reel presented by The Untitled Movie Pod, and I am your host, Dusty Jones. That's me right there, Dusty Jones. This show is a weekly critique of a film that I recently watched. It's kind of a highlight show of movies that are not blockbusters. They're more off the mainstream, off the beaten path. It's kind of what the original The Untitled Movie Pod was all about, but recently that's kind of changed. It's become more of a movie lifestyle show or media show. But I want to keep doing criticisms. I didn't want to lose that altogether for this, for the channel or for the network. And so that's what this is. And every Thursday I'm going to bring you a movie that I saw, and typically they're going to be movies you probably haven't heard of, or maybe maybe you were flipping through, you know, Netflix or Amazon or whatever, and you saw it and you're like, what the heck is this? And you probably saw a low rating, and the more I've delved into stuff, low ratings don't necessarily mean anything, because usually the people that give them low ratings are people who the film wasn't originally for to begin with, you know what I mean? Which it's not the best way to say that, because I mean, as an artist you'd want, you know, your audience to be everybody, but unfortunately the people who don't get it tend to be the ones that review stuff. So I'm trying to highlight those movies that may have gotten overlooked, that you may even overlook yourself and didn't dig into. So this week is the first week, and you may have heard me talk about A24 on the Untitled Movie Pod, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with an A24 film. You may have heard me and LeVar kind of bicker about the movie a little bit, because he had seen it and I hadn't seen it, but it was one of those movies right up my alley, and I just hadn't got around to seeing it. So I figured, what better movie to start the show than with Under the Skin. Over there? Under the Skin. Starring Scarlett Johansson. And let's just jump right into the trailers, and I'll tell you what I thought. So...
So you live alone?
Yes.
You think I'm pretty?
I know, gorgeous.
Come to me. When was the last time you touched someone? You don't want to wake up, do you?
So that was the trailer. If you couldn't tell already, this movie is a little bit out there. It's for a movie starring Scarlett Johansson, and the big movie right now is Age of Ultron, taking the world by storm. This movie couldn't be any more different than that movie, quite frankly. But let's kind of look at a few things real quick before I give you my review. IMDb gives it a... This is how they, you know, tell you what it's about. A mysterious woman seduces lonely men in the evening hours in Scotland. Events lead her to begin a process of self-discovery. It's directed by John Glazer, written for the screen by Walter Campbell and John Glazer. It's based on a book by Michael Faber. And after seeing this film, I'm really interested in reading that book because there's a lot of information in this film that, well, there's not a lot of information in this film, let's be honest. And hopefully that could kind of open up a few things for us. And as you can see, all the characters don't have actual names. Even our title character, or not even title character, but our main character, our protagonist / antagonist, is just called The Female, starring Scarlett Johansson. She's the only one that's pervasive through the whole movie. The rest of these people are in it for 5 minutes, maybe, if that. So yeah, that's why that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to show you the IMDb page, because this movie is vague even with its own characters. The film opens just like that trailer did, where you have these two light sources coming together and it looks like one's going in the other, and is that a double entendre? Yeah, probably so, because as it said, she's seducing these men, and we don't really understand why, and you even get a sense of sci-fi, maybe she's an alien from another planet here to, suck up energy or knowledge or who knows what. It's never explained. There's almost no dialogue at the beginning of the movie, and most of the dialogue is not even like for the audience. It's more like we're just overhearing conversations. And the main character, the female, Scarlett Johansson, she barely expresses. Her character basically expresses no emotion for about 2/3 of the movie. And when the movie changes, that's when she gives you a sense of emotion. And as you saw in the trailer, some people say that this movie is kind of a insight into what it means to be a human being, and I agree with that to an extent, because the film begins with this person doing what she is told to do or assumes is the right thing to do, or kind of what her natural order of things of what she's doing. But then there's a point where she has guilt or remorse for what she's doing, and she decides to go against it, to go against the grain, and start exploring who she is and what life is, and outside of what her orders are, what her design is, which we don't know. We don't, and how far is it that it's actual orders? We don't know. Like I said, she could easily be just an alien from another planet here to suck us dry, but there's never any explanation. There's tons of imagery in this film, just like the trailer showed. And even somebody commented that this could be the next Kubrick, which I wouldn't go that far, but definitely there's a huge influence, especially with 2001, with the obelisk and a lot of the imagery that's in 2001. Because like the acts that happen in this film, you don't see them. All you see is her seducing the guy, which she does it fairly easily. And then there's this artistic or directorial style of portraying those events, of what happens after that. And from the beginning of the movie, like I said, you really don't get a lot of information, and as the movie goes on, you get more information, but really that becomes, turns into more questions, basically. And so I find that interesting, because this is one of those films where you could debate about what it's about. I mean, the whole movie, who she is, if she is a human, if she's an alien, if it's all just a huge, just assembly, basically. So that's something I enjoy, and that's something that A24 has been giving us, and that's why I've been kind of waving their banner saying, hey, A24 is doing some, they're not making these films, even though if you listen to the Untitled Movie Pod, we told you guys that A24 is getting into the business of creating an original film, because up to this point, they've just been a distributor. But, like I said, the movies that they are giving us, like movies like Enemy and Locke, and this movie, Under the Skin, are not mainstream films. But they're films that I think that are very important for the medium, but also for culturally speaking. Because this movie, like I said, raises a lot of questions and trying to decide what it is to be a human being, or and it's funny because as the movie progresses and she basically tries to fit in, and then all of a sudden she becomes the other and she's the one who's being attacked. And it's super interesting. I would love to hear what you guys think about it, and you can send me and the show as a whole an email at theuntitledmoviepod@gmail.com, because I want to hear what you guys think about this film. Maybe something I missed, or just bring more voices into this conversation. And that's what this network's always been about, is just trying to get people that are kind of tired of blockbuster films and want to, seek out something other than, what we're given, it's basically shoved down our throats at the movie theater. This movie is easily available. It's on Amazon.com as a Prime Instant, so if you have Prime, it's free. Simple as that, just click it. But it's on pretty much all the other VODs, so if you want to give it $2 or $3 or give it a rent, why not? As far as would I call this movie a must-see? Not exactly. I'm not praising it nearly as much as I did Enemy. I feel like that movie was definitely easier to get into, which I'm sure is hard to believe for those of you who have seen it or heard our take on it on the Untitled Movie Pod. But because this movie is definitely has a wall. I mean, there's definitely a huge wall between us as the audience and the film as a narrative, or however you want to take it, as a piece of art. Because the narrative is basically told through images, which does the film, right? But usually, especially in mainstream films, it's not just told through imagery. It's told through the dialogue, through the score, through all that stuff. Which I didn't even mention the score yet, right? The score, there's not an ongoing score that keeps the beat of the movie. It's more like a thriller score or a horror score, where when something's happening or something's changing or something like that, there's tension in the air, the score comes up and you have some really nice orchestral stuff going on. But it's not one of the scores that keeps the movie going. Most of the sound of the film is found place. It's it's her driving the van over through puddles, and you have the rain falling, or when she's going through the woods. I mean, it's all natural sound. So the score was, if you can call it a score, was good. The cinematography itself was okay. I mean, it did its job. It looked great. But it didn't do anything different, or it didn't try, it didn't push any boundaries. The main thing about this film is the art, is the the different images we get, and the way they're put together, and what they mean. And like I said, those meanings, it's up to you, the viewer, to kind of figure, unpack this movie, to uncompress it, to figure out, what is this director trying to tell me. If he's even trying to tell you something, if he's just trying to, open a can of worms. Some people hate that kind of stuff. They don't like, to be completely open-ended. But there is a period on this film, for the most part. But as far as, as from a narrative standpoint, but as far as, why am I watching this? That's up to debate. But that's kind of stuff I like, and this will definitely be kind of a benchmark for the kinds of movies I'm going to bring to you guys, because I want you guys to check out things that you may not have checked out before, and see it not necessarily through my eyes, but to find appreciation for films that unfortunately don't get looked at. Because as you saw on the IMDb page, it's got a 6.3, which for IMDb is not that great. As I said before, I mean, the people that usually review are the people you don't want to review in these films. Just like Enemy, I think Enemy had like a really terrible 4 or 5 or something, and I've been preaching about it for months now because it's one of those movies that really affected me. So I think that's going to do it for me today. I'm going to try to keep this show short. I don't want it to just drag on. I don't want to reveal everything in the movie. I basically just want to kind of give you an insight of what I thought about it and what I thought it was about, and kind of give you an idea if maybe you want to watch it. If you like really weird, which I don't like using the word weird, but if you want to see a film that's way, a complete 180 from Age of Ultron, this is what you're looking for. And if you like really interesting visuals, this movie's for you. Like I said, it has a lot of inspiration from 2001 and films of its ilk, to where the images tell the story basically, because the director is not going to force feed you anything. They're not going to hold your hand at all. It's up to you as the viewer to pay attention and be involved, and then like most great art, start talking about it after the film. And so yeah, that's going to do it for me this week. Please check out our website at www.theuntitledmoviepod.com. You can send us an email, whether it be comments, feedback on this show or other shows, or even movie suggestions. If you've seen a movie that you think I would be interested in, please let me know, because I haven't seen everything, and I'm going to try to focus on movies I haven't seen, but I will pick maybe once a month a movie that I have seen before, and I just want to get it out there for you guys. But just send that all to us at theuntitledmoviepod@gmail.com. We ask you to please go to our facebook.com/theuntitledmoviepod and like the page, and almost more importantly, share it to your friends. And please help us share out our content, because we want this to be a community. We want this to be more than just us talking to you guys. We want you guys to talk to us, and it can be more engaging for everyone involved. And then last but not least, www.patreon.com/theuntitledmoviepod. That's how you can help us out financially. And with just a small $5 donation, you can get a shout out on The Untitled Movie Pod on Sundays. And so yeah, that's the ways that you can hook up with us. And I think that's going to do it for me this week. Next week, maybe doing another A24 film. Possibly, maybe. I wouldn't doubt it, but yeah, so I'll just see you guys next week. I'm Dusty, right there, how it says right there, Dusty Jones. That's me, and this is The Weekly Reel, and I'll see you guys next week. Have fun.